What if Eli Holstein played in all 13 games a year ago and didn't get injured down the stretch? What if his production numbers stayed consistent throughout the season and wasn't just a strong start and then a lousy finish? Where would he rank among ACC quarterbacks heading into 2025 or nationally? That's our topic today, where he does rank after 10 games a season ago as a redshirt freshman for Pitt heading into this 2025 season on the Pittsburgh Sports Now Football Pulse. I'm Nathan Breisker. We thank you for tuning in to today's episode, and we're talking about the quarterback, the signal caller, the number one quarterback for Pitt this season, and a lot of weight will be on Holstein's shoulders, of course. Year 2 of K-Bell, year 2 of Eli Holstein, the first returning quarterback for Pitt since Kenny Pickett. Holstein, we saw him 10 games last year, and his splits from the first 5 games to the last 5 games, we talked about it on previous episodes, not so good. Last year, his first 5 games, 1,567 yards, completion 65.6% completion rating, 15 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. An outstanding start to the year, had taken home a couple of the ACC Offensive Rookies of the Week last year, broke a couple of freshman records at Pitt. His final 5. 56.3% completion rating, 661 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And a very interesting stat from ESPN. Holstein versus top 40 defenses by efficiency last year had a 31.6 QBR rating, 5.3 yards per attempt, 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So, of course, he needs to make major improvements in those areas, especially against top-end defenses, and Pitt will see a couple of them, Notre Dame specifically, but a couple in the ACC as well. So where does Holstein, as of now, rank heading into the 2025 season? Last week, The Athletic released a total ranking of every single FBS quarterback out there and put them into separate tiers. So where did Holstein fall? Well, they had him in their 3rd tier at number 29 overall in the country. So a rather solid rating for a guy who only played 10 games, really only had a strong 5 contests last year, and looked good in those games, but had a really, really rough stretch of the season to finish things out, and then, of course, got injured. But The Athletic, they have him at the number 29 overall quarterback in that 3rd tier. And that 3rd tier, they sort of listed as their sort of definition of it. Most teams would love to have these type of quarterbacks, but they have strong body of work, but they have their flaws here and there. They can be either great or they can have some stretches where they just not so great play. So that's where Holstein sort of ranks. So 29th overall, that is good enough for 7th in the ACC. Now, a much bigger league, of course, with the additions of your Stanfords, your SMUs, and your Cows, but pretty good ranking for Holstein after only what was really a small, good sample size of work last season. And ahead of him in this athletic ranking, the number 1 quarterback in the ACC, Cade Klubnik, and one of the top quarterbacks overall in the country. Kevin Jennings of SMU, number 2. Carson Beck at number 3. Haynes King of Georgia Tech at number 4. Pitt will see him. Pitt will see Beck. Darian Mensah of Duke at 5, and number 6, Gio Lopez, a transfer into North Carolina. So those are who are ahead of Holstein. And really, like we opened this episode, what happens if Holstein plays all 13 games and really continues on that pace that we saw in the first 5 games? Who knows? He might have been in the Heisman conversation, and that's really something to say about him because, I mean, he had 15 touchdowns in his first 5 games of the year. Even just if he continues that production over the next 5 games before he gets hurt, you're talking about 30 touchdowns in 10 games. I mean, that's quite the clip there for Eli Holstein. Now, in other rankings, On 3 had Holstein at number 8 in the ACC. CJ Bailey of NC State was ahead of him, one of the guys who slotted in that wasn't ahead of him on the athletic list. And then 24/7 Sports after spring ball had Holstein at number 7. So a lot of people, a lot of analysts have him right in the middle, on the upper part of that middle tier. And I think, personally, that's a really good spot for Holstein this year because he put together a good start to the season, as we keep mentioning. But really, I mean, his play declined after getting banged up a little bit. He had a lot of strong qualities to him that showed through that first half of the season for him. He showed that pocket presence. He was able to climb the pocket and deliver passes down the field. He was able to go through his second or third reads at times and just fit the overall Cade Bell offense really well and had it humming at a high clip before things, of course, slowed down. The Cal game, Syracuse didn't really need him to do a whole lot because the defense was outstanding that game. But then the rest of the year, SMU, he struggled and then got hurt. And Louisville threw an interception on the first drive before being hurt for the remainder of the season. So Holstein, the Athletic, they have him right there in the middle at number 7. And who knows? I think there's a couple of guys he could be higher than on this list if he just has a much better season and stays healthy just overall in general. I think he's a guy that can throw between 23 and 30 touchdown passes. He could be a guy, though, as teams started to adjust to him, they started to force tougher throws, and he threw a handful of interceptions down the stretch. I think he could be a guy that could throw, let's say, 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and 3,000 plus yards. I think he's that type of quarterback, and then he can get it done with his feet as well. So by the end of this 2025 season, we will see where he ranks among the ACC, among the quarterbacks nationally, because I think he could rise those lists easily if he puts together a strong season. We'll see how he was able to recover from his injury, because that was a thing in spring ball that he was still dealing with that, maybe not 100% healthy, and trying to use his feet a little bit more than he needed to. So we will see how things sort of come together here in fall camp ahead of the 2025 season. And if he can get Pitt higher than their expectations, again, over-under win total line, we've talked about a handful of times, 6.5 wins. Will Pitt be better than that? Will Pitt get to 8, 9, 10 wins? That a lot relies on the Holstein, a couple other spots, of course, offensive line. But Holstein, you need the quarterback to play. And right behind him is Cole Gonzalez. That's Cade Bell's guy from Western Carolina. So Holstein looking for improvement this year and ranks 7th in the ACC from the Athletic, 29th overall nationally. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Pittsburgh Sports Now Football Pulse. Training camp, it's coming up soon for Pitt, so stay tuned to all of our coverage over at Pittsburgh Sports Now. I'm Nathan Bryce here, saying so long.